Terry delay.
Good morning.
Morning. Welcome to the Toyota Corolla show, where I talk about how I got a Toyota Corolla.
For at least an hour.
For at least an hour.
Again.
I can talk about that for a month. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again.
Sorry we're a little bit late.
On the Waffle Hour with Dumb and Dumberer. We are going to talk about stuff as usual. Our SeaWorld stuff, full-size stuff, Japan stuff.
Us stuff.
Us stuff. Life in general, you know.
Yeah.
How to make friends and succeed in life. No.
How to make $1 million in a week.
If we were doing that, we wouldn't be doing this show. We'd be doing the $1 Million show. So anyway, new stuff. We got bodies in, and we have this thing, which you can't see at all. It just looks like a glowing blob. But this glowing blob is actually
Tamiya R32.
And you see it, Tamiya R32 now in stock.
I was going to say, for some people, this isn't a big deal. But for us, we've been trying to get these in stock because we love the Tamiya R32 bodies. We've been trying to get them in stock
since we opened.
And we were told that they weren't stocked. We couldn't get them. We had to order a ridiculous amount to get them into stock, which isn't feasible. And all of a sudden, they magically were available. So we grabbed all of the ones we could, and we've got 2 left. That may be none because I might have one and you might have one, or I might even have 2 to make a wide arch.
Yeah, no, it's bad, isn't it? They're that rare. Like, if we want to buy them ourselves,
I think the thing that
you probably won't.
I think the thing that people won't understand is we see so many of these because of the MST RTRs, and we just want them, but they're always gunmetal.
It's all I want to do is see one in green or something.
I want to see one in midnight purple.
I want to do one in luminous so everybody can see I've got one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So yeah, we're really pleased to have them in. It's only a little thing, but it's a nice thing for us.
Tamiya 32 is back in stock. We're also behind us that you can't see down on the floor here.
Well, you will see if you follow us on Instagram because I posted the photo yesterday.
We've got a bunch of Yokomo bodies back in. JZX100, Kunis, Kunis Mark X. He's got a lot of bodies, doesn't he? He has.
I was going to say, I'm hoping he's getting some good royalties from all these.
Who has the most bodies on Yokomo?
It's got to be Kuni.
You think it's Kuni? There's 3 of them.
It's got to be. Who else has even come close?
I guess there's like 3 RX-7s, but one's the Apexi.
But there's 2. There's a Grady, which is the Amamiya, and then there's the
Grady and the Trust Grady and the
yeah. You know what I'm trying to say.
But anyway, 460 power S14A. ER34, 1VIA, PS13, and also the MST/Kazama S15.
We should have reeled off the bodies we had in stock because we sold a lot of bodies since we got them in because we haven't had them for a while.
I was going to say that is the problem. We had a bunch of FCs in which
they were gone the day they came in.
What 6 did we have or 7 or something like that? And it just literally a day. But to be fair, we kind of helped that.
We
FCs with light buckets, yes, we'll have one of those, thanks. To be
honest, I wish I'd got a couple more. I think I might try and find another 5 just for my next couple of years.
Yeah, just keep you going.
Just keep them stocked up.
We got bodies, and we are still doing our Japan bodies. Mine's currently sat there, still clear.
Can we show it?
I don't know if the camera will pick it up and do it justice. I mean, we might as well.
Basically, we've been putting together a little test version. We're using my Euros body, and we just applied some vinyl to it because we're working on a design for Japan. Because Mitto, the front drops when it's got a battery in, so it looks a bit high. But also, I think it's got a couple of tweaks it needs doing, but it looks really well.
Mess around with different colours.
Yeah, basically, we've done this so we can work out which colours are visible because essentially we're going to be running the same colours with a couple of differences to identify each different shell.
Yep.
So I think the one thing we'll probably change is the gunmetal-y chromy vinyl that you can see on there.
Yeah.
Different colours.
Oh, on camera it looks like that reads better than the pink.
Yeah.
But in the real world, the pink.
On the real world, you can't see that. It looks like it's actually just black.
Yeah.
Which isn't amazing when you're trying to show.
And if you do it like that, it looks like it's purple.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to tell.
Yeah.
So that's why we're messing around, because obviously it's easy enough to put funky looking stickers together, but to make them legible
together, and also we need to work
some red on the bonnet.
We need to work out the different variations that we're going to have between each of our bodies. So I like it.
I like it.
I can't wait to run with it. I've been driving it. Do you know the only thing I don't like is the fact that you've got your freaking name on it. on my body. This feels wrong. It feels like I need to cut that out.
You can later. It's just a prototype.
It is.
But I don't know if you can see. This is the bit that's bugging him. It's got my name on it.
It's his name on my body.
I have to look this way so I can aim, so you can all see the funny shape of my nose.
I just forget to look at the camera all the time. Apparently, it's the number one rule when you do this. You're supposed to look at the camera. So.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that and then looked at myself. Genius.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think it needs a couple of tweaks, but when we've done it, it should be awesome. But let us know what you think. Fire us a comment. If you've got any suggestions, let us know.
Don't let me know. It'll just make me sad.
Yeah, but I don't care.
All right. Well, anyway, what we'll point out is thanks to, I'll use this side because you can see Zero Feel. If you need decaf, who didn't turn the phone off?
Oops.
And who's calling? Is it someone out there?
Probably. It's probably someone to come and call and let us know what they think of the body.
Yeah, your body sucks. That'd be funny. We could do a phone in. But yeah, if you need decals, get in touch with the guys at Zero Feel, Adam and Luke. They are good dudes and they will hook you up. Adam with the design skills and Luke with IT skills, which aren't really relevant, but he's got them anyway. Have you fixed
You need to keep talking because somebody's giving their phone number and I've answered. We don't want that. Give it that.
Is that done?
It's done.
Are we done?
Sorry about that, guys.
We're in a meeting.
Yeah, I knew I'd forgotten something.
We're meeting the internet. Anyway, Zero Field, Japan bodies leads us on to our next subject, which is
I would imagine Japan.
Japan. Japan.
Toby.
Yeah, so we're going to Japan on the 2nd, which is how far away is that?
A week on Tuesday.
Are you kidding me?
No.
A week on Tuesday. Oh shit.
I know. It's starting to stress me now because we've got so much to do to actually make it work. Like going to Japan is a big deal for me anyway.
Yeah.
Forgetting the fact that I've got to organise making a business work while I'm in another country.
Yeah.
And forgetting the fact that I've got to buy a suitcase.
So there is another issue.
A coat.
Well, to be fair, there's another issue in that we haven't booked our hotels.
Yeah, we've
yet.
got nowhere to stay. We've got flights and some dates where we're planning on being in areas.
Yeah, there's nothing actually set.
Yeah, you probably want to fix that, please.
Yeah, I'll be working on that today.
And something I've just remembered that I'm going to get later.
To say we're winging it, we need. Oh yeah, I need that too.
Yeah, you do.
He wrote travel insurance.
Only because I'm going to the post office. So.
International driver's license.
Yeah.
You got to drive when you're in Japan. You're all right hookers.
Yeah, I don't think we can get that sorted in time, can we?
Yeah, you just go to the post office.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway,
it's like a $5 or something. Can't even remember.
Isn't it like a month for them to actually do it? Though?
No, you just go in, they fill it out, and there you go. Give it back. So if you're from England, because not everyone watching is from England, you basically go to the post office and take in your driver's license and some form of ID and your passport, and they just basically write it out and give it to you.
I didn't know that. I thought it was something that had to be sent off to the DVLA.
Like no, not at all.
How long did it last for?
A year.
Oh, cool.
So
that's wicked. Well,
basically,
I haven't got a car to drive in Japan yet, but we can find something.
We'll find something. Anyway, so we thought we'd reel off a list of places we're going to and why we're going there.
Are we just doing the stuff we've confirmed, or are we doing the stuff that we're hoping to do?
Well, we might as well do the stuff we're hoping to do. There's more like full-size stuff that we're going to do.
This might explain why we're quite excited. I think, or why I'm quite excited.
It's for me, it's like, oh, there again.
You've never been there, I know that much.
Spoon.
Yeah.
Nope. That's still a maybe.
Yeah,
if we're lucky. That's a bit of a detour.
That might be where I drive to.
Heading up the list is Yatabe Arena.
Yep.
Homeland of Yokomo.
Yep. So apparently you've been a few times. I've obviously never been to Japan before, but apparently it's going to be the best facility in the world for RC. So I'm very interested to see how it works.
It is the biggest for sure. Best, I think. depends on your personal taste and what you.
Well,
how you
I
like
mean,
to
sort
drive.
of globally
But
for
in
RC,
terms
because
of-
there's
in
on-road, there's
terms of-
off-road.
Oh yeah. In terms
there's
of what it
everything
is,
under one roof.
it's an incredible facility.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously James hasn't been there, and we want to go there. And a lot of this sort of tour this time is basically to fill in the gaps for you, really.
Yeah.
So all the stuff I've seen and gone, wow, that's amazing, is the stuff that I want to show Jay, so he can kind of grasp onto it himself.
Yeah,
Yatabe for me isn't. It's not my favorite place to drive, but as a facility, it's unmatched. It's unmatched. It's just full on massive. It's got a restaurant in there. It's got a huge shop. It's got everything. It's like a department store for RC, but it only sells Yokomo brands. So it's a bit weird because it's huge, but it's one brand only, and they sell out of their own stuff really fast.
If we got overseas, I might just buy them all.
Possibly.
They're probably already sold out.
Anyway, Yatabe, it's asphalt. It's clearly
Isn't there a carpet course as well? Is it?
There's a carpet store course upstairs, but it's the same carpet as a circuit that's down the road from Yatabe, actually called Ikudo, or Ikodo, and they have a black carpet, which is quite fast. And actually, they run a different tire at Ikudo on the same carpet than they do at Yokomo. So
a non-Yokomo tire, by any chance?
Yeah, but it's quite an interesting thing when you
can drive carpet on different tires.
Yeah, on different tires, it's quite a difference in it. But obviously, the Yatabe asphalt is very special. I know something about the mix of asphalt, and I can't, obviously can't say, but it's very, very fine and very smooth, and it takes them about 3 months to wear it in with all of the people there driving. And every time I've been there, there's a lot of people there drifting. So yeah, that's a very special surface to run on. Obviously, massive facility. Another place. This is all in the kind of Yatabe's out near Scuba Circuit. So obviously, if anyone's into full size, they'll know Scuba Circuit very well.
Or Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo or Forza. Yeah, so everyone knows Scuba.
It's probably my favourite track.
It's very close to Scuba, and then what we'll be doing is going back through to the Yokohama Kanagawa area. Full size stuff there. Garage Weld, who
which
are obviously
which will we go to for the
Overdose guys, so we know them, and obviously we're going to go and say hello. Vertex, who is Takahiro Ueno, makes some RC parts, and also very famous in full size. Super nice dude. Got to spend some time with him in Germany.
And for those that don't know, anyone who's been to the Euros will know, but his son Adoru is
also RC
badass race suit wearing
destroy monster. Yeah, he's a funny little dude. So yeah, we go and visit those guys, and obviously, lady Arisa, his wife, very nice lady. And also, if we got a chance, we're going to go out and see BR, Mr. Imai. Because he just has a bunch of cool cars. His Corolla, his 86. Well, his Corolla and his Corolla. His 86 is 86. Welcome to the A86 now. So it's he's got those, the Skylines, the drag cars, the
D1 cars. The Imai's A86. You can check out the Driftworks blog. There's a lot of photos from when those guys were in Japan. But
it's on Driftworks and Speed Hunt. It's a very famous car.
The coolest two-door ever. It's a very unique look. But it's one of the few Corollas that's done differently that just works for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Like most people will try and do something different, and it just looks a bit weird, or it looks a bit unusual. Yeah. His is kind of track style, almost NASCAR inspired. With the tire paint and that kind of thing. But it just looks cool, badass.
Only until I build mine, but more on that later. Also, we're going to go out and visit Waru Circuit. An interesting fact, if you don't know anything about the location of things in Japan. Within the space of maybe 8 miles along one road, you basically get BR, and then you drive a little bit, about sort of 5 miles, and you find yourself at Vertex. And you drive another 3 miles up the road, and you find yourself at Garage Weld. And then you drive like half a mile up the road, like literally you walk from Weld, and you're at Waru Circuit. And then the other place we're going to go, Waru, obviously very famous carpet circuit. So
produce loads of videos on YouTube,
and it's in the right place. If you want videos of Waru on YouTube, look for at Sushi 007. But then literally from Waru Circuit down the road again is Doctor Circuit, which is a painted concrete.
I thought Doctor Circuit was out in the sticks somewhere.
Look, these places are all sort of Kanagawa, so this is
not that built up.
It's not that built up, but Doctor Circuit, super slippery painted concrete, which is a real challenge. The local guys there are so fast, and it's I don't know where the hell I get the speed from. So that's going to be a massive. I mean, especially for you having not been there, in terms of learning fast, it's going to be dumping you in at the deep end. Here you go. Try and keep up with these guys who are amazing.
I'm going to just suck. But the biggest challenge for me, I think, is I've only really driven on carpet for the last year.
Yeah.
When did we last go up to?
And the Euros was on carpet as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've not really had much variation lately. It's not since last summer. I think that I drove on a different surface.
Well, put it this way: at Waru, we'll be on
comfortable.
And then as soon as we go to Doctor, we'll just get our butts handed to us. That's pretty much how that's going to work.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of the time there we can do something half decent.
Yeah. In theory.
Yeah. We'll see.
But anyway, there's that stuff, and then what we're going to do is head back to Nagoya, and we're going to basically go and visit one street, and it is possibly, in my mind, it's the most amazing street in the world if you're into drifting.
Just because of the companies that are on there.
Just because of the companies that are on there. Literally, it's one road, and it goes on for like 100 miles. But in this one stretch of the road between Nagoya City and Inuyama, which is like the next kind of part of the city town thing out, it's one road with just a massive bunch of stuff on it. It's Route 22, I think it's called. I kind of forgot, which is terrible, really. But I can drive you there. I couldn't tell you what the road name is. That's bad.
Tell everyone what's on it.
Anyway, so you start on this road, and we're not going to visit all these places, but I just want to explain the road. So you come down off the expressway, and you come onto this road, and the first thing is like, if you watched Outsiders, there's a department store with just a bunch of weird stuff in it. Don Quixote, I think it's called, and just that has a bunch of crazy stuff in it. And then literally you come, there's a MX-5 and 8086 tuning shop that I don't know the name of, it's in Japanese. And then there's the first part of Garage Defend.
Yeah.
And then there's like an American muscle car garage, an American wheel shop, a like super expensive sort of American car shop where they sell like Hummer H. These are all independent shops, but they sell H2s. That last time I was there, they had a Ford GT40 in it, and we were literally all like window licking at the thing, you know, like that was amazing. So from there you go on, and you've got Tam Tam Hobby Shop, which is an RC shop, which is massive, big asphalt course there. It's kind of the big chain store in Japan. Tam Tam Hobby Shop. There's that and Super Ragicon, but Tam Tam is the kind of the big chain store. That's there. And then you go along, and what's next? There's the second part of Garage Defend. Then there's Super Autobacks. There's obviously gasoline stands and food places everywhere. It looks crazy. And then you come to MHC, which is a drift car shop. Which is MHC. It's they run a sort of metallic baby blue S15 in D1 Street Legal.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, so they're there.
Kind of similar colour to yeah, I know the one.
You know the one. And then you've got Kids Heart coming up next, and they've got an RC circuit as well, which is
and lots of cool
painted concrete, but that's super fast.
Is it weird that I can't hope that when I get to Kids Heart they haven't sold or changed any of the cars that are out the front from Outsiders? I want to see half of them in the flesh.
The only thing that hasn't changed is or the only thing that has changed is he sold his D1 car. The other cars change around a bit, but his D1 car is in the BR. But he's still got the pink JZX, and as far as I'm aware, like I think the last tally I did was it hadn't moved in 8 years.
Jesus.
It was there when I first went to Japan, like
And in
when I
exactly
went to
the
live
same
there,
spot.
and it's still in exactly the same spot, and it's still got air in the tires, and it's still clean. So, and the only reason it stood there is because he put a 2J in it, went out, went nuts, set the loom on fire, and then couldn't be bothered to fix it.
Because it's not the.
So it's there through laziness, really.
Yeah, it's one of those. No, just buy a new car.
Yeah, basically. So anyway, from there you continue up the road. There's a couple of second-hand shops, and then finally, I mean, I'm sure there's more shops like this. I'm sure there's more garages and stuff. Tatsujin is a little out of the way. It's Kasugai, so it's maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes drive from there. But obviously, we're going to go to Tatsujin as well because that's going to be the epicenter of what we're doing. But yeah, the last one worth mentioning that I know of that everyone will be hyped on, especially now because he's getting super famous, is Mind Control, MCR Factory. And Sashi Yokoi just got a new car.
Yeah,
gonna kick some ass.
It looks quite terrifying, that car.
Yeah, it looks fun, to be fair. But yeah, that's all on one street. Like literally all of that is one street. It's crazy. A couple of minutes away from there, Tatsujin, which is the same asphalt as Yatabe.
Yeah, the only other place in Japan, isn't it?
The only place in the world.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because you get the comparison from actual Yatabe to Tatsujin. It's the same asphalt.
What's the tire choices?
On a Tatsujin, it's Mikuni polycarbs.
Okay.
Okay, and then other places we're going to visit: Hikotech, super popular rear-wheel drive circuit. RCC, Hikotech's also painted concrete.
Okay.
Super bumpy, super slippery.
So basically, I need to get the jet up and running.
RCC, painted concrete, but very different from the Hikotech concrete. And also R31 World, R31 House.
Yeah.
Go out and see Renato and the Slow Freaks guys, Seiji, all those guys. Hopefully they'll be there.
That'd be cool.
Hi guys.
I doubt they're watching.
Yeah, well maybe. And try their asphalt, which is different again.
Yeah. That's a circuit I'm really looking forward to driving actually, because it's one of those places that when you watch it, you can clearly see that the circuit is super fun to drive.
Yeah.
And there's a load of ring to add style and things like that. So
yeah. Very different style, and that's actually something that you probably don't grasp that well from just watching the videos online. But the circuits all have very different styles, which is super interesting. So from there we're going to go down to Kansai, which is like basically Osaka. We're going to go to Rajikon Seta and Super Rajikon. Rajikon Seta last time I was there was basically a scale version of Mayhem.
Yeah.
Which was super fun. And then Super Rajikon is I think it's 3 levels now. RC department store.
That's what we need.
And it's literally like going into, what would everybody know? Oh man, I don't know. What's a department store? I want to know. It's like Walmart for RC. Yeah, like that. Literally, it's just massive. And there's 3 floors of it, and the stuff is so packed in. Like you wouldn't realize that much stuff existed for RC.
The thing is, it's kind of weird because this is something that people don't realize, but our goal is to have a place like that. And our goal is to bring a facility like that to the UK. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good for us to. It's good for me to see it for sure, because I'm kind of the one that
big size and small size. We need to make just
everything
super place. That's the goal. Anyway, from there we're going to go to Okayama, which is about an hour and a half away from Osaka. So it's Nagoya, Osaka, Okayama, and we're going there for Formula D. So we're going to spend.
Should be amazing, I think.
Yeah, we're going to basically spend the week hanging out with Team Tatsujin.
The weekend.
Well, no, that's like.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I'll maybe carry on.
We've got quite a few days there. So it's Team Tatsujin, Team Achilles, who are now kind of a very similar thing. Hanging out with Amandio, who's, from what I know, a very nice guy. Spoke to him on the phone. Super cool dude. And also Saito Daigo,
which would be amazing.
Which is going to be funny. you're basically hanging out with the Prince of Japan and the Prince of like just dudes that like kind of are unstoppable in a way in anything that they do. So that's going to be interesting. And also Taniguchi, who's a local Aitken driver who's now doing Formula D and D1 Street League and all that sort of thing. JZX100, red one. If you go on the Team Tetsugen blog, you see that. Mizunaga, mate, is now doing full size drifting as well, and he has a JZX100 as well.
That's pretty cool.
So
we can borrow that.
He has described it as a missile. So I'm pretty sure
it's probably better than anything we could ever
afford. Smashable. Yeah. But yes, we're going to go and do that. We're going to try and visit Mayhem Circuit when we're out there as well, because that'll be amazing.
Yep.
And visit my buddy Shane.
Yep.
And meet Nakamura and some people like that if we don't meet them at Formula D.
Yeah. Is Nakamura competing?
I believe he's looking for a car to use at the moment. It's a very high level event. So obviously, you need a pretty crazy car, and it's sort of 300 horsepower Mayhem cars aren't going to cut it. But that's what we're doing.
Should be amazing.
Basically over the space of 2/3 weeks, something around there. And it's going to cost a fortune.
Yeah.
And
I'm not looking forward to that bit.
Stop me buying parts for my new car.
Well, before you move on to your new car, one thing I was going to say is I'm probably going to spend half of my time RC driving and half my time taking photos.
I'm going to spend all of my time ignoring RC and just looking for Corolla parts. That's what I'm going to do. I've developed a new addiction.
You mean 15 parts?
I have an AE86.
SR86.
SR86. It's got an SR20 in it. Super stoked. Haven't been drifting for ages. I took it out the other day when the morning after it arrived, because it arrived late at night and I didn't want to annoy all my neighbours. Took it out in the morning. Yes, it is insured for any coppers out there. The thing is an animal. It scared me.
I still haven't seen it. I was expecting it to turn up in it today.
I bent a tie rod. It's a scary car. So there'll be more on that, and we'll probably do something full size when we're back and the car's built.
Yeah.
That car's going to be going off and getting a bunch of stuff done to it. I've already spent far too much money, and I've had to sell my nice daily BMW. It's gone. So anyway, bullshit. Back into the full size world.
Yeah.
And I am really interested to see how the RC stuff is going to translate to that. I have high hopes.
I think it will surprise a lot of people.
Let's hope so. Yeah. Let's hope so and see what we can do. Other new stuff, moving on, because we're getting a bit fixated on full size and Japan and all these good things that are happening. We had the guys from McModels over here from Ireland.
They were over on Wednesday for the day.
James, Pad, Brian, and other dude.
But basically it was the guys have come over to see what our place is about. We've been helping them for nearly a year or
something
so,
like that,
maybe a little bit more than a year. But it's a bit difficult trying to do certain things over the phone, trying to explain techniques and trying to explain things that.
It's been a case of come and see.
Yeah, it's always easier to show people when they can experience it and when they can see it with their own eyes.
Yeah,
and. The good thing is they've gone away. They're really happy, and we've given them some pointers, some tips, and a direction to head in. And hopefully we'll be able to go and visit them next year at some point and see how they're getting on. But there's some good stuff going to be happening for the customers.
Drifting is so massive in Ireland. It only makes sense that'd be super awesome. But those guys are hype. They're all really nice guys.
Yeah.
So if anyone's out there in Ireland watching. Yeah. Go and see the guys at McModels. They are
find them on Facebook.
Stepping up the game. Yeah. Stepping up the game.
Yeah, they will definitely be the best place in Ireland within a very, very, very short amount of time.
Yep.
For RC drifting.
Yep. Let's hope so. Fingers crossed. Moving on.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks to those guys for coming over and taking the time to visit us. We appreciate everybody coming here, especially like some of the distances people travel.
Yeah,
pretty amazing. Not as far as us going to Japan or anything.
But don't even start that game. To be fair, Andy Maker nearly travels that just to come here from Wales.
I know, dude. Jeez, we've got one guy out there, Andy Maker. If you're watching, What a dedicated dude, man. Like
Yeah.
9 hours driving in a day to come and do RC. Like,
It's pretty hardcore.
you're insane, dude, but we love you.
Yeah.
Right, just wrapping up the kind of the news.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of stock.
We were hoping to have a bunch of stock to show you today.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's all coming early next week instead.
Yeah.
So I believe Monday, hopefully, we will have a pretty big MS2 order landing with a whole bunch of chassis.
Pretty big, gigantic.
We also next week should have a huge stock order of AccuVounce arriving with the Tau 2s on, with all the option parts, with a bunch of capacitors, with a bunch of motors, with a bunch, just everything is coming.
Yeah.
A whole load of everything is arriving next week.
Desperate for BS.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be next week. It should be. They're shipping today, I believe. So
yeah. And what else is arriving next week? But it's on its way.
Hopefully next week we've got some Duval chassis arriving.
Booyah!
Cool.
Finally.
Yeah, you've only waited half as long as Shilly has. But
I know. I'm so desperate for this chassis. It's unreal.
I just hope it doesn't get lost or anything.
Oh man, I'd cry.
I've got a horrible feeling because it's been.
Shut up, man! Don't say things like that. That's awful.
There's been such a delay on it. It just seems like it's kind of.
Oh man, why would you?
And because we've got a week.
Why would you do that?
So if it doesn't show up next week, you're not taking it to Japan.
Well, if it doesn't show up, then basically I'll just have to get one when I'm there.
Yeah.
And just remortgage my house.
And I'll have the other one when I get back.
Yeah,
yeah,
you can do that.
Something like that. We'll work that out. Oh wait, we're out of stock in Japan now.
Oh, damn it!
So yeah,
so all that stuff's coming in.
You should have bought an RMX.
That's like when you're struggling with your PC and your mate sat next to you with a Mac. In fact, Dan Joyce, anyone knows who he is from the thing Dirty Sanchez, well into drifting, so hence the relevance and knowing him. Every time I'm sat with that dude and I'm on my PC and it does something wrong, he goes, should have bought a Mac. It's like the same thing. It's like, should have got an RMX, should have bought a Mac.
I expected the VAR was going to be incredible, but that's incredible.
It better bloody well be. I can't answer that now, Richard Clark, you silly fool.
He's definitely not watching them.
Clarky from Dorytech Motorsport. If you need things fabricating or
are you plugging him now? He's doing some work on your car.
Yeah. Or you need interrupting when you're doing a waffle time.
Or if you need him to fuck with your Corolla when you're trying to fix it, like he did with me.
But this one's got an SR in, so he'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's got a turbo. He understands that.
Yeah, he can build an SR.
So anyway, that's the news. That's Dorytech being a pain in the butt. Let's do question time.
Got some questions.
Everybody asks questions.
Let's get to them. I've now lost them because my tablet's locked itself. Oh, a question.
A question. Is anyone saying? Stop gloating about going to Japan, you swines.
No, this is a question we've answered a few times before, but we'll answer it very quickly. Somebody's asking on YouTube about which type or brand of battery do we recommend for the RTRs. Thunder Power, always 2-cell LiPo. Never any reason to use anything else. You shouldn't use a 3-cell or bigger because they're not designed for it.
2-cell, 7.4.
Yeah.
About anything sort of between
4,000
4 and
5,000
5,000.
basically is what I say. Anything bigger than that, depending on the brand, maybe a bigger battery that won't fit properly. Anything smaller than that, it's just going to have a shorter run time. That's not worth going for. 4,000, 4,200, 4,300, something like that will give you an hour and a bit.
Brand-wise, Thunder Power.
Thunder Power is the brand we recommend. I'd like to find some other options that I'm as happy with.
Well, the Core RC batteries were good,
but they're not.
But they've stopped doing them. So
they were a lot cheaper and they weren't as punchy or as.
But they were consistent.
But they were consistent. So if you watch our other videos, you'll see some of the stuff we've spoken about on that sort of subject. So it's probably worth doing that, to be honest, because you'll probably it saves us repeating ourselves if we put it that way.
Indeedly.
Right. Next question. Matt Vokes has asked about corner weighting and how it helps to have even weight. Well, it's essentially makes the car more predictable.
Yeah,
it's a basis.
It balances it.
As silly as it sounds, you'd be very surprised how many people come here and their car is 30% heavier on one side or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where they've just positioned electrics funny, or they've got a particularly heavy battery or something like that. And you throw it into a corner and you throw it into a right-hand corner, it behaves completely different to a left-hand corner, and things like that. So balancing it.
Well, you want to know that when even in front and rear roll, like it's going to pitch, so it's actually a diagonal motion.
Yeah.
So you're basically controlling the motion of the car dependent on the direction, and you want the car to handle the same when it's flicking one way as the same as it's flicking the other way.
Yeah. Well, the next part of this question is what can you do if it's miles out or a little bit? The easy thing is to adjust your springs and your damper lengths and things like that to balance the chassis.
If it's miles out,
if it's miles out, you might want to reposition the electrics or change your battery if it's that bad. You know, we've seen some people turn up with nearly 7,000 milliamp hour.
The only stuff you get
way too much.
Real problems on is the older chassis that are designed for NIMS batteries, things like that, where the lipos are much lighter. So you'll see it on a lot of the Japanese cars. They'll run a bunch of weights on the battery straps and things like that just to balance it back
that's essentially that is inherently the chassis is imbalanced.
Yeah, exactly. So,
whereas most modern chassis,
it's not that the chassis is imbalanced; it's just designed for an older product.
It's imbalanced now. With current usage and things. You can basically, if you adjust one corner, it'll affect the diagonal opposite corner. So with your springs, I mean,
but it'll also affect the side next to it.
Yes, yeah. So, but it just pitches the car effectively. So
let's call it the principle of sevens.
No, let's not.
Because it works in a 7, doesn't it?
No, it's corners. That's what it's corner weighting.
Yeah, but that corner goes to that corner, and that goes to that, to that. Right. It's the principle of 7s or Zs.
You're weird sometimes, man. You're weird sometimes.
Principle of Zs.
Right, next question again from Matt, because he's asked in the same place, so it makes it nice and easy to nice and easy to get to. Very simple. When's the RMX coming in different colour options, and when's it due back in stock? They're in stock next week. They are available in red or silver, and I'll be putting them on the website shortly today to pre-order. But the reason I haven't put them on the website yet is because I'm waiting for MST to confirm as to whether it's going to be an ongoing option, or I'm led to believe it's just a single batch of silver and red. So it's going to be very short, and you will need to pre-order because I believe they're only going to make however many they get the pre-orders for. I will never put stuff on the website until I have the information, hence the reason I haven't put them up available yet. Whereas other people are allowing you to buy them, but they can't have the information because I don't believe it's been confirmed yet. Last question from Matt on this particular source. Is there any more rear-wheel drive only chassis due out that you know about, or will they be like the RMX, you can run both ways? There are a couple of other rear-wheel drive chassis coming out of Japan that I've seen, but I don't, unfortunately, I haven't been able to understand a lot of the information because it's in Japanese. So I don't know. There's one I don't even know who's making it at the moment. I think most chassis are going at the moment. I think there's a bit of a transition period where people don't want to jump and dedicate themselves just to rear-wheel drive. So having a chassis that can be four-wheel drive as well is a huge selling point. I believe there's possibly a couple of new rear-wheel drive chassis coming out from some pretty big brands next year, but nothing's been confirmed yet. And I believe that, basically that we got the FRD version 3 due out any day now, I think.
Most stuff aside from the MST is conversion though.
Yeah.
Even some of the other ones that are sort of repackaged as rear-wheel drives are not designed as rear-wheel drives; they're adapted to be rear-wheel drive. So,
I've got another question just coming on YouTube.
Yes.
From Chris Perkins.
Hi, Chris Perkins.
He's basically said he's ordered an FXXD S version from us and a 180SX body that's arriving in the next week or so.
Thank you very much for ordering.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
What electric should he get? He's on a tight budget.
RCOMG package.
Yeah.
No question.
£110 for the ESC and the motor. Again, we've talked about all this stuff on previous videos. Yeah. Basically, the ESC and motor are the best you can have for me.
ESC and motor combo with the servo. And save, and get an MT4. That's how I'd go at it.
If you're on a really tight budget, an MXV is fine.
Yeah.
And there are other. I mean, we've actually had a bit of a. We've talked about the budget radios quite a lot this week with the guys from Ireland, and also with a couple of customers that are interested in MXVs at the moment. And to me, there is other good radios available, but they're a little bit dated in terms of the budget stuff. An MXV is around £90, or I think it's £100 for a different package with a couple of receivers. But the Futaba 3PL is okay, but it's very dated.
3PL's good.
I mean, I had
4PL,
one
again,
5
dated,
years
but-
ago.
Yeah.
5?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it must be because
and it's okay. It does everything you need it to. It's just kind of a little bit behind. You know, there's a few nice things that have been added to the other radios since then.
Yeah.
So personally, I'll go with an MX-V if you want a really tight budget, or get an MT4 as early as you can because it makes a big difference. So that's the route I would prefer.
I'd save and get an MT4. That's what I do.
Yeah, it's
They're
possible,
that
for
good.
sure.
They're that good.
Right, next question.
Next
Sorry, I've
question.
been stuck on something. My thingy has decided to go on a weird route. Right, next question is from. Now this one's one for you while I go and get some stuff for the next question, actually.
Okay.
Rafal has asked,
Hi, Rafal.
can you quickly explain how to properly build the shocks with the adjustable tops so that you're adjusting the height shock? So when you're adjusting the height, shock rebound stays the same. Every time he's trying to increase the height, he's decreasing rebound. But
That's because it's inherent to the way it adjusts. Basically, when you adjust them and make them longer, you're pulling the top of the, I suppose, the threaded part of the cap out of the body, and what it does is create more of a volume of air in there. There's a hole in there, so it doesn't work in the same way as a regular damper. So it will always reduce the rebound effect because you're reducing it by increasing the distance at the top of the damper. It's only meant for small adjustments, like maybe a mil or 2 mil. It's not meant to be threaded 4 or 5 mil at a time, because then you will need to reset your damping. But because they're bled, in effect, there's a hole in there, so there's much less resistance. The damping becomes very different. I mean, in theory, you could block the hole if you wanted to increase, the rebound or have a stronger rebound effect. But that's not how they work. So yeah, basically, that's just going to happen. You can choose a harder spring, or you could try blocking the hole, or just using the regular caps and using the extension at the bottom of the damper to effectively increase the length of your damper and increase the riding height.
okay, a very important question from Taj is how much shock amount do they need to bring with them when they come over?
Hi Taj, all of it.
All of it. Just buy the factory's stock, bring it all.
We actually have a carton still,
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things now. I'm a little bit unsure if I want to drink it.
Well, because it's been there for ages.
It's been there for quite a while.
I'm pretty sure it's made of petrol. And it'll be fine.
But yeah, basically, we're restocking cream soda just for you today. I'm going to the cash and carry later today.
Yeah.
And I'll be buying in triple the stock. But if you specifically want some to take home like last time, let us know.
I will have 3 large cartons of Chocomel, please.
I will have.
You're just going to have more than me to show off, aren't
No,
you?
I was going to say I'll have 12 little cartons. Because the problem is about the reason I haven't drank the big one is
That's a good point.
because when I open the big one, I drink a litre of chocolate milkshake, which isn't the best. So I'll have the little cartons, please. Well,
Yeah, I'll have a bunch of little cartons as well. That is a good idea, man. Because then it's like a little taster once a week for ages.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than feeling sick after 5 minutes of drinking litres and litres.
What I need to do is take a Chocomel to Japan and drink Chocomel in Japan, because it's probably illegal there. Like, I think it just works like that, doesn't it?
Right. The next question is, well, Akhtar's asked a couple of questions. One of the questions he's asked is about ESC settings, and it's something I'm not...
Oh, God, this is a whole other show.
Well, it's quite an in-depth thing, but also the settings are applied differently depending on the brands.
And gearing and...
Well, no, I mean, like, literally,
what
something, like one of the settings he's asked about here is drive frequency. Well, that doesn't apply to some ESCs, and it also works backwards on certain brands, and also stuff like turbo slope. Again, it works differently in terms of measurements. So
yeah,
I'm reluctant to give any specific values because it could cause somebody to blow something up or cause damage. But essentially, most of the settings have a very suitable name. So initial brake is how much brake you get when you first apply the brake. Drag brake is how much brake you get when you lift off. and neutral.
Well, you're in the neutral position.
I was going to say most of the higher end actually call it, rather than drag brake, they call it neutral brake.
Yeah.
Which explains it, I think, slightly better. Punch profile, that varies quite a lot, but essentially punch is the initial throttle, so it's the same as initial brake.
Well, it is as described. It's punch.
Yeah, but the punch profile specifically, I don't know which brand would uses that term. So
I think is that Samoa.
But boost timing is I don't even know. I can't remember. But boost timing is effectively again, I'm reluctant.
But I think to be fair, if we go through all the points, that like actually the best way to approach it is get all of your other tuning done first. Set things very mildly on your ESC if you need to play with it. Be very mild with the settings. Then set your chassis up. Then play with it, like in small stages. So adjust. I was going to say play with it gently, but I thought that sounded weird. So adjust the boost, but just a little bit, and give it a test run. It's reasonably difficult to blow something up right away.
You say that.
Basically, as a general rule,
if catastrophically wrong, you can do it in seconds.
As a general rule, less than 20 degrees of timing on whatever you're doing, and run it for a very short amount of time.
This is what I didn't want to get into, because
that's it.
That massively depends on the motor. It massively depends on your gearing, and it depends on the brand of motor. It depends on your batteries. It depends on a lot of things. So
basically, we can't answer that question.
We can tell you what most things do, but we don't want to give any specific values. So, for example, turbo slope is the speed at which the turbo timing is applied. So it's the ramp angle, effectively. Turbo timing is how much turbo you're applying. The same as boost timing is how much boost you're applying. And the difference between boost and turbo is usually turbo. Again, this differs by brand, but usually boost is applied across most of the rev range, or on higher end stuff, you'll be able to adjust when it starts and when it stops. Turbo is normally applied at the top end. So boost, you've got your standard amount of power. Boost increases that amount of power, and then you can use turbo to add on top of the boost or replace the boost. So you can have your boost cut off where the turbo starts, and then use the turbo instead, because you can have on an ESC where you've only got one profile of how quickly you can make boost come on and how quickly you can make the turbo come on. Well, if you want more power when you get to higher RPMs, you can use the boost at this angle and the turbo at this angle.
I think a good way to put it for people who are familiar with full-size cars is boost is like tuning camshaft profiles and lift, and turbo is like literally increasing the boost pressure of a turbo.
Yes, sort of.
So obviously, when the turbo comes in,
the turbo, that's fine. That's the
torque goes up.
For me, the boost is,
because if you imagine the motor timing is physically the motor timing, because you can adjust that as well. So it is effectively, it's like tuning your cams. So it's where your power band sits. So
Joshua's asked how to settings, but he hasn't really asked what he needs to know about the settings. So I'm a little bit unsure.
We've kind of gone through what it does on
my settings. Basically, are on our blog, but again, be very careful with the rear-wheel drive settings, because they are brutal and they have broken people's cars.
We run very aggressive settings because we have a shop full of parts if we blow stuff up,
and because we have to test stuff.
And we have to test it. We have to know what it takes to blow things up, which is quite fun.
Lee Heightons, hi Lee.
All right, Lee.
He's asked.
Not that Lee.
He's asked how to program the TAL, which I don't know how to answer, because it's pretty easy.
These are all kind of the same questions.
Well, no, he means I'm guessing how to actually use it on the car.
Oh well, the simplest way is to plug it in
with a battery in the car.
With a battery in the car, turn it on. The thing will come on.
The light on your ESC needs to be blue.
The light on your ESC needs to be blue or red.
It's red.
Red.
Yeah, sorry. It needs to be red. If it's blue, it's on program card mode.
Push it on tachyon area and then go to preview, and it will tell you what's on the ESC. You can change that, hit save, and save it to the ESC. But if you know, that's the short version.
That's the quick way of doing things. The The proper way of doing things is to go into set mode and change your settings, save the settings, then go to data link and then
upload them. Yeah.
You don't really need to do that, to be honest. You can just use the preview because it just means then you see what's on there and you can add what you want.
I do have one wild suggestion for Lee though. Could read the instructions.
Maybe. Right, Taj has asked a couple more questions. He's asked, he's getting the HD aluminium rear knuckles soon, and he knows that I currently have them on my RMX. What's the recommended settings for them with the plastic insert bushings, and why? On mine, I played around with this lots, and I've never found anything other than the setting I used to be not worth using, but the setting I use is so good that it's all I will ever put them on. Can you not crack my front bumper, please?
It's fine, man. You've got another
basically, I use it so that the knuckles are dropped as low as possible, so the insert is all the way to the top.
I believe that I used them one up from that.
One less, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yours dropped the wheel as low as they can be. Yeah. I was one step higher. So I kind of concur with that, but I also ran my arms in different positions.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. The reason for that is basically adjusting roll center, and that gives combined with some other settings that we use on the car with the top camber arm positions, the top camber arm length, and things like that, and the tyres that we use, that gives maximum rear grip, essentially, which works pretty well for us. He's asked another question. So as you know, I'm trying to learn more about rear-wheel drive drifting. As for competitions, in what way is judging rear-wheel drive different to regular CS? In essence, it's the same, but you're looking for different things, or different negatives, I'd say. Rear-wheel drive cars that aren't set up very well, or if the driver's a bit inexperienced,
twitchy steering.
They switch the steering a lot, but they can crab all over the place.
Yeah, and
it just looks really bizarre because the car isn't following the front wheel.
There's some very small detail points in how the cars move, and in terms of realism. With a real car, you know, if you're sat in the car and you're out on lock and you're going to change direction, you actually add a little angle before you snap back. So with the rear-wheel drive, you know, being able to add that angle and that rear sort of rear right-hand wheel squat, so it pops out of that direction, that's quite a big thing because that's a very hard thing to do. Again, Misnaga was over doing some rear-wheel drive, and he was slower than the other guys here.
Yeah, that was.
But actually, when you watched him, and he, you know, I asked him like, "How come you're driving that way?" He explained a lot of these things, and I said, "You know, there's a lot more sort of little tiny style points with rear-wheel drive because again, it's, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's rear-wheel drive. It's exactly, you know, it is scale, it's real, but it's not because the tire is still different.
Yeah,
the amount of roll is different. So some of the movements you exaggerate slightly to create the realism, and I think that's, you know, it's important to watch full-size drifting so you understand those movements.
Yeah, I mean, the really interesting thing with when Misnaga was here for me was a few people took note that he wasn't interested in speed
at all,
which is completely opposite mentality of a lot of people over here.
Yeah.
It's one of my pet hates is people with rear-wheel drive trying to make their cars as fast as CS. It just misses the point to me.
Yeah.
So it's good.
The idea of rear-wheel drive is realism.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we need to move on because we've got people who are waiting to use the track, and we're already at an hour. Next question we've got.
Sorry, guys.
Actually, it's one from last week, which unfortunately we missed because I just didn't see it. But Akhtar has asked
again,
shock absorber angles. What's the relation between top position and bottom position, if any? It depends exactly what you mean about that in terms of whether you mean if you're moving the damper in or out completely top and bottom. But I'll assume you mean if you're leaning them in top and leaning them in bottom and things like that. And it's one of those things where people often get a little bit confused with this, and it's one of those things for me where people misunderstand quite a lot about setting up suspension. So
well, in the most basic sense, if you look at the again on the wall, the 10-step guide, you know, it's the basic principles on there. So if we look at rear damper angle, step 4, which balances the front and rear grip and the overall speed of the chassis, and then rear lower arm damper position. So it's the on when you're on lock control as a roll setting. So that's how it applies to the 10-step guide. However, whilst Jay wrecks things, you've got some more info on.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things that I don't know if this is going to be at all helpful, but essentially, if you lean the top of your damper in, and it doesn't, you can achieve it by just leaning the top in or kicking the bottom out as well. Essentially, I'm talking about how much the damper is leaned over right now. The further you lean it over, effectively, the softer your car becomes. But as the suspension compresses, it will progressively get firmer. Because if you imagine that your damper's here, as it does this, it's no longer pushing up, it's pushing round. And it gets to a point where the damper is actually sort of being forced against itself. So it will stiffen up a bit. I've had to write notes on this because there's quite a few points I wanted to make sure.
Well, what that also does is when the damper's leaned over, and if the damper's leaned over and the car rolls, I'll exaggerate, the car rolls, the snapback speed off the spring is faster because you're loading on the spring more. Rather than compressing the spring, you're loading the spring, and obviously you've got that resistance. So it'll snap back from the roll faster as well.
Definitely.
Which, if the speed isn't going correctly, will either do one of two things, which will make you understeer or oversteer.
Yes, definitely. Basically, if you lay the front shocks over, you will get smoother steering on lock. And basically, it will give you better control when you're off power. Is the way I look at it.
But it'll also dull response. So as you come down in the shocks, it dulls off the response, and as you come up, it increases the response.
Definitely.
But that's kind of in terms of initial.
Well, I was going to say I'm going to get to that bit in a minute. If you if you lay the rear shocks down, it becomes a lot smoother, which is a big thing we did at the end of last year. We were all laying our dampers over loads. Because it was making the car super smooth, more
to
fluid.
The point where we had them crazy angles.
I mean, we went a bit extreme with it, as we tend to do at some certain points. But you'll end up with less forward traction as a result. But the car will be easier to control. Generally.
And you get good lateral grip.
Exactly. Standing the shocks up on the rear will basically gain back some of that forward traction. But another big thing it does is it will speed up the transitions. Which is part of the reason, actually, my car's not that quick in transitions right now, because I've still yet to decide on my damper angles. So basically, when you stand up the shock, you get on the front, you'll get more initial steering response. You'll get some more traction out of corners, or more steering grip out of corners. But the downside to that is it can make the car straighten up when you're on lock. If you take it to the extreme and you've got too much grip, your car, when you put it on lock, will want to straighten. So you need to find the balance with your damper angles and things like that. But the big thing you have to remember is if you are lacking speed, or if you have too much speed, you need to change your spring, not your damper angle. The damper angle changes the feel of the car. And it changes small details about the handling and
it's like the feeling and the roll grip, isn't it? Basically,
but essentially the spring will govern how fast the car is and how controlled the car is effectively. But the damper angles will just change. There's a lot more to it because it's oil.
In effect, it governs the speed at which the car reacts to the damper you've built and put on it, which includes the spring. So I mean there's a lot to think about when you're setting your damper angles, and Mizunaga's 10-step guide is completely right. You do front and rear separately. If you change one, you may need to change the other again, but you may not. It's most likely that the feel is correct by that point. Like if you change your front, you're setting your steering feel. And the rear is obviously grip balance. What I will say as well is actually it's very easy to get carried away with settings, and you end up with some kind of ridiculous setting where everything's almost fighting against itself to work. So if you feel like it's not working, don't be afraid to just literally just start again. just put it all back to normal and start again.
To be honest, I think that can be beneficial if you haven't.
Well, I tend to do that anyway.
I should do that more often than I do. Sometimes I get a bit stuck with my settings, and I realise at a later date that actually the problem was I changed something and went down an entire different route with everything.
Yeah.
And then to go back to what I like, I need to undo 10 steps.
That's the trouble. There's so many little details with setting the cars up. It's pretty goddamn difficult.
I think we're going to have to call it a day there because, as I say, we've got people waiting to use the track. So this one's going to be. Actually, I was going to say it's going to be a short one, but the reality is this is how long it's meant to be. Before we said we'll do these for an hour, and I think we've been on for about an hour now. So
about an hour and 10 minutes. What we do need to say before we go is I was up at Driftworks this week, and Phil Molly-san and Mr. James Robbie-san hooked us up with this sweater, which is a new one for me, and Jay with the classic.
I believe, if I remember right, that was designed by Lee Urbane.
Thanks, Lee Urbane. You got some sick skills, yo.
Yeah. So yeah.
What do you do that in paint?
No. Just me. Yeah. Thanks to those guys for sorting us out.
Thanks for the hookup. We're coming, don't worry. It's the food van.
But yeah, so basically, yeah, thanks for that, and we'll hopefully be back next week. Probably with quite a lot of new cool stuff to show off, I think.
I hope so.
Maybe a couple of very spangly, expensive chassis.
We could just, if nothing turns up and it all goes horribly wrong, literally I'm going to print out my ticket for Japan and just sit here for an hour waving it. That'll do for me. Yeah. Like, go to Japan, go to Japan, go to Japan.
Yeah, that'll work.
For a moment there, I forgot that people are watching us. But yeah,
I can tell.
Thanks thanks for those,
and
thanks for tuning in and watching us, and
the
Waffle Hour.
Hopefully, we can have some decent questions in for next week as well, and we can have some awesome stuff to show. I'm quite excited about a few of the bits that are coming.
There's so much cool stuff coming. Yeah, I'm excited.
So anyway,
see. Thanks for watching Waffle Time. Yeah. Like and share and favourite and do all that other stuff and be a Viking and blah blah blah.
One day you can get tired saying that.
I'm not, I like it.
But
if you've watched this like 3 or 4 times, go and watch Rob Ass because he's funny.
Rob Ass on YouTube is funny. I'm just going to keep waving until we go now.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye now.
See you later. Ta-da.